$205,000, brand new, 12 years ago. Last month, that same sailboat changed hands for $91,000, less than half. And the man who bought her at 91 just got the better end of the deal by a country mile. The first owner didn't wreck her. He didn't neglect her, didn't get cheated, didn't so much as scratch the gel coat. 12 years later, the boat is exactly as good as she ever was. She just costs half as much. That collapse broke his heart. It's about to make somebody else's whole trip. Here's the thing nobody on that brokerage dock in Anacortes wants you to sit with. Depreciation is not damage. On the right boat, it isn't money that vanished. It's money the first owner spent so you wouldn't have to. The advice you hear everywhere treats a boat that lost half her value as a boat that did something wrong. But a lot of the time she fell for reasons that have nothing to do with how she sails, how she's built, or where she'll take you. The builder folded, the rig went out of style, the market got bored. Another French 40 came along. None of that touches the hull. All of it touches the price. So today, 6 sailboats that lost half their value or more, and became some of the smartest money on the water because of it. Most of them are bargains. One of them I'm going to defend in front of you because it's the boat this channel is supposed to sneer at. And the boat I saved for last cost a small fortune the day she launched, and today she's the most boat per dollar I can point you at anywhere. Let's get into them. First, how a boat loses half. The curve is well known. A new sailboat gives up 40 to 50% in her first 5 years, and the fall flattens out around year 10. What the curve won't tell you is that the drop isn't a verdict on the boat. It comes down to how many were built, whether the company's still alive to answer the phone, and whether the rig and the sails have gone unfashionable. Land on the wrong side of those three, and the boat falls straight through the floor, even if she's magnificent. And there's one real bill waiting on every boat here, so hear it now. The standing rigging, the wire holding the mast up, has a working life of 10 to 15 years, and a boat this age wants fresh wire before she goes anywhere serious. Re-rigging a 35 to 40 footer runs about $6,000 to $10,000, more on a big one. Every boat on this list carries that bill somewhere in her. Subtract it from the asking price before you fall in love, and you'll never overpay. Now, the boats. We start at number 6, the Ericson 38. Bruce King drew her, and if that name means nothing to you yet, fix that. Because he drew hulls of near-perfect proportion the way some people write a clean sentence. 37 feet, 12 of beam, 15,500 pounds, with a molded fiberglass tow rail, instead of the leaky teak everybody else was bolting on. She's a genuinely lovely thing to look at. What the buyer sees is an old California boat from a company that isn't around anymore. And that's precisely the mechanism. Ericson stopped building under its own name around 1990. Pacific Seacraft bought the molds, and an orphan builder is a discount you can spot from across the marina. A boat that cost close to $100,000 new sells today between $25,000 and $55,000, depending on how she's been kept. The older ones blister, so the bottom wants a good look. And the ports and chain plates weep with age. Nobody gets paid to remember her. That's your opening. Number 5, the Tartan 37. Sparkman and Stevens drew her, the same firm behind the Tartan 34C we've talked about before, the pedigree that ran alongside a Notter's Swan at a fraction of the money. Between 1976 and 1988, Tartan built close to 500 of them. Most were the keel centerboard version, 4'2" with the board up and near 8 feet down, which is about the perfect draft for the Chesapeake or the skinny water down south. Here's the mechanism, and it's the friendliest one on the whole list. Nothing is wrong with her. She lost value because Tartan built so many, and because a 30-year-old cruiser with a plaid interior doesn't photograph like a boat show. Clean ones run from the low 30s to the low 70s. The honest flaw is the deck, balsa cord, and after 40 years water finds its way in around the fittings, so put a meter on it. The centerboard pennant is a maintenance item too. Ask when it was last done. Do that, and you've bought one of the finest cruising hulls of its era for used pickup money. That's not a boat that lost. That's a boat the market simply forgot to keep bidding on. Number 4, the Whitby 42. Ted Brewer drew her, and she is a lot of boat. 42 feet, 13 of beam, a center cockpit, a walk-through to a big aft cabin, 2 heads, tankage for 290 gallons of water. For a couple who want to lift aboard and go cruising, she's a floating apartment that happens to cross bays. What she looks like is a serious ocean boat. And here I'll be straight with you, the way I promised. She isn't quite one. She's a fine shoal draft lift-aboard cruiser that has made real passages, but her build is a touch lighter than her profile suggests, and the mizzen compression post is a spot surveyor's fine soft. So have somebody look hard right there. But look at why she's cheap. She's a catch, which the market discounts because it's 2 rigs to keep up. She's a center cockpit, which half the buyers won't even consider. Add all of that up, and you get an aft cabin, 2-head, walk-in engine room 42-footer for under $100,000, and sometimes for half that. If you actually mean to lift aboard and go, the market's prejudice just bought you a very big boat cheap. Number 3 is the one where I argue against my own channel, because number 3 is a Beneteau. And you know how this show usually feels about a production French boat. The Beneteau First 42 and her smaller sister, the First 405. Germain Frères drew the 42. Jean Barret drew the 405. Real designers, not a marketing committee. These were the performance end of the Beneteau line in the 1980s. Solid glass below the waterline, thin keel, spade rudder, a hull that genuinely goes. A production French 40-footer, 40 years old, unfashionable, from a builder that's launched 100 newer models since. She sheds value like nothing else here. You'll find them from the low 40s into the 70s, and plenty of tired ones for less. Here's my argument. Everyone in this corner of sailing sneers at the old Beneteau. But look hard at who took the fall. Not you. The people who bought her new absorbed every dollar of it, and by the time she reaches you, the falling is finished. She has almost nothing left to give up. And what you're standing on is a quick, well-balanced boat that will sail rings around the heavy character boats this channel loves for 1/3 of their money. She is not a boat to drag across an ocean. Don't let anybody talk you out of a fast, sound, honest boat just because the badge stopped being fashionable. Unfashionable is the discount. If that's the kind of straight talk the man with the brochure will never hand you, do me a favor before we get to the last 2. Tap that like button, then hit subscribe. I put a couple of these out every week, and there's always another boat worth pulling apart. Number 2, the Nonsuch 30. And this is the sleeper of the whole list. Mark Ellis drew her, and George Hinterheller built her, the man who helped found C&C before he set out on his own. So the quality underneath is the real thing. Then he wrapped it in the strangest rig on the water. 1 unstayed mast, 1 wishbone boom, 1 sail, 1 halyard, 1 sheet. No stays, no shrouds, no headsail, nothing to hank on in the dark. You come about by turning the wheel and doing absolutely nothing else. What that rig did to her resale is the entire opportunity. The mass market took one look at a catboat with a telephone pole for a mast and kept walking, so she never commanded mainstream money. Even though she's built like the Hinterholler she is, and carries the interior volume of a 35-footer, stall shower and all. She trades from the mid-30s to the low 80s. The honest flaws are small. Watch the balsa deck core around the fittings, the old gate valve seacocks, and a crack that likes to show up where the mast passes through the deck. I put a friend on one a few years back, 66 years old, single-handing her out of the slip on a gray Tuesday without breaking a sweat, and he told me, It was the first boat he'd owned that never once talked him out of going. She lost her value to a prejudice about how a mast should look. You get to cash that prejudice in. And that brings us to number 1, and to the boat that fell the farthest of all, the Little Harbor 44, and the 46 that followed her. Ted Hood drew these. If you've been with me a while, that's the same hand behind the Bristol 40 I said I'd write my own check for a while back. But Little Harbor was Hood's own yard, his top shelf, semi-custom boats, built to a standard almost nothing in production sailing ever matched. Fin keel with a centerboard, 5 feet of draft with the board up, and 10 with it down, so she'll tuck into a thin anchorage and still claw hard to windward. 30,000 pounds, better than 40% of it ballast. Now the fall. These cost around $400,000 and up when they were built in the 80s. Real money then, the better part of $1 million in today's dollars. Today a good one trades between about $150,000 and $200,000. That's less than half, often far less, off a boat hand-built to a level a new production 40-footer can't touch at twice the price. The honest flaw is that centerboard, the pennant, and the trunk are a real maintenance item, so ask when they were last serviced, and the plain truth that everything on a Little Harbor costs Little Harbor money. But if you want the best-built boat your dollar can reach, this is it, and it is not close. The market never decided she was a lesser boat. It decided there weren't enough people who wanted her. That's a different thing entirely, and it's your way in. So what would I do with my own money? If I wanted to go cruising this year without spending a fortune to do it, I'd buy the Tartan 37. An S&S hull, honest under sail, dry decks on the meter, a rig receipt in the folder, and never look back. It's the most boat for the least trouble on this list. If I had a fast coast and a competitive streak, I'd buy the Beneteau First, pay 1/3 of what the heavy boats cost, and let the first owner's depreciation buy me my Wednesday nights. But the one that would keep me up at night is the Little Harbor. If I could stretch to a good one with the centerboard sorted and the rig freshly done, I'd never own a finer boat, and I'd have paid less than half what she'd cost to build. Some boats you buy. That one you rescue, and she pays you back every day you're aboard. Because that's the whole trick with depreciation. It only breaks the heart of the man who pays full price. For the one who waits, it's the market quietly handing over a better boat than his money should buy. Every one of these fell hard. Not one of them fell because she was a bad boat. Next time, we go looking for where next year's bargains are being made right now. The boats losing their value today on the brokerage listings this week. That'll be the steals nobody can believe in a couple of seasons. Get in front of that, and you're not chasing the deal anymore. You're waiting for it. Until then, don't let anybody tell you a cheap boat is a lesser boat. Do the math, get a rigger up the mast, and buy the boat the market got tired of. She'll be just as solid under you on the far side of the ocean as she was the morning you signed, and she'll have cost you half.